Okay, cool. So we're getting into MCPs, smarter serving with MCPs today. So MCP, if you haven't heard of it by now, that's a surprise, but it is our Model Context Protocol, which was created by Anthropic as an open source framework, I think as of 2024, but prior to that, it was their in-house creation, but they've made it open source for others to use. And so what it allows folks to do is standardize a way for AI models like LLMs and IDEs to connect with external data sources, tools, and other services. Another way to think of this is like a lightweight API for wrapping your models with metadata. In terms of architecture or how it operates, you could think of it as another client server architecture where an MCP host would be where it runs. And so applications, again, like LLMs, chatbots, IDEs, which need AI capabilities to do more than they can as it is, can use this protocol to connect to more data sources. And then your MCP client would send those requests through that MCP protocol or connections and or yeah, send those requests and allow you to get more real-time data. And then the server, again, can be thought of as like a lightweight API wrapper for your models. Then you have in terms of how the server operates, uses things like, for local data, uses things like files on your local machine or databases. Then for remote services, they'll have, I don't know, you can connect to like a Slack or send emails and things of that nature. Okay. So before we get a little deeper into MCPs, we're going to talk about LLMs pre-MCP and what I guess prompted the creation of MCPs. So before LLMs, yeah, before MCPs, were very limited in what they could do. They were limited to their pre-training. They were often outdated and did not have direct access to sources or source transparency, which is where things like hallucination or misquotes and things like that came up for people using LLMs. Now, with the creation of LLMs, you were able to not have to rely on training or data and ensure that you can have real-time responses and data come back in instead of just having your questions answered or just like a data retrieval system. It became more than that with MCP. LLMs before MCPs also lacked a deep domain knowledge or like specialized domain knowledge where it made it harder to generate context related responses, which makes using MCPs that much better now. And then also one of the biggest things is standardizing integration. Before MCPs, that was not available with LLMs, right? So before LLMs, you couldn't really do much but get answers and retrieve data. So people said, come on, do something. We have this little image of what that looks like in terms of the change from LLM to MCP as it is today. So again, we talked about how LLMs by themselves don't do much but retrieve data, answer questions, and things like that. Like if you've ever been on ChatGPT and asked it to send you an email, it would tell you it can't do that, right? It could write out a prompt or respond to your prompt, but it can't actually send that email out for you. So then came LLMs and other tools which were specific to whatever app or company that could integrate it to their LLMs, which made these capabilities, extended their capabilities. But again, it was still limited in scope and scale and growth in that respect. So from there, we have LLMs plus MCP. Now, these tools and services are actually getting the data directly from a source. So you can avoid things like hallucinations and things of that nature. And another issue here was that with the LLMs plus tools alone, again, was that integration would mean that your LLM or IDE or whatever would have to learn a specific kind of language to be able to integrate that tool into the LLM for each tool. Whereas with the introduction of MCP, that standardized integration allowed folks to spend less time working on this and not have to worry about it. And you can also switch between different services with your LLM or tools and not have to worry about connecting each one separately. So in terms of how it's actually connected, you have your MCP client, and that's things like your Tempo, Windsurf, Cursor. There's a bunch out right now. Then you have the MCP protocol, which is actually what's connected, helping you where that standardization is in terms of connecting it to the MCP server. Then you're connected to your service, which is maintained by, I guess, Anthropic, because that is what allows. I'm sorry, it's actually not maintained by Anthropic. The protocol is, but Anthropic has left it open for whoever is using it to actually maintain that service for themselves in making it open source. Cool. So now we're going to get into why you know, you would want to implement MCPs and how that benefits individual developers or organizations and things like that. So you have standardization again, which we've talked about, which just means that it provides like a common interface for integrating your various tools and data sources, also reduces development time, complexity, makes handoffs easier, things like that. You also have enhanced performance, which allows for direct access to sources, like I said earlier, which just makes for like faster production, more accurate data retrieval as well, and responses from AI models. And you also have more flexibility and time management. I think we spoke about this earlier too. You can, again, like switch between different LLMs and tools seamlessly. And then in terms of security, MCP has pretty strong like authentication and data access control mechanisms that ensure secure. So for my next steps, I am planning on building out something to help me plan a trip with an MCP server. I want to be able to access my calendar, book stays, flights, and email my team, letting them know. Back to that last slide. Yeah, well, we don't have to go back. But if you have any other ideas, please throw them in the chat in terms of what you would like to see your MCP server do or connect to. Yeah, let's build together. You can find me here. Thank you.